Yes, Uncle Wiley. She was looking at Rim. Then she turned and walked away. Landor smiled mechanically at Rim. Come in. Give us a chance to talk at least. Rim hesitated. Then, with a long, angry stride, he went into the room. Landor nodded at one of the chairs, and Rim sprawled into it, studying his muddy boots. Landor paced to the window, hands locked behind him, looking out at nothing. Rim glanced at the man's stiff neck, his high, narrow shoulders. Rim had always liked the old skinflint, Puritan and prude though he was. There was a heart behind that disapproving face, and Landor had been the best friend of Rim's father. I wish you'd try to see it clearer, Landor said. All I see is you've signed on with a snake, Rim said. When the enemy occupies a town, a man don't stay in business unless he makes a deal. Landor's hands knotted tighter. There was no proof against Romaine. When the Confederates occupied Tucson, most of his rolling stock was out of town. I didn't see 1 pound of rebel freight move out of his yards. What about Dad? Who tipped the rebels off about Dad? Landor shook his head like a ringy old bull. 100 men in this town could have done that. But it was John Romaine who profited. He was just a shoestring freighter till they killed Dad. Now look. Landor wheeled on him. Rim, we've been over this 100 times. I promised myself I wouldn't start it again. You've come back hurt and bitter and disillusioned. War will do that to a young man. It smashes a lot of ideals, changes his values, leaves him restless. Rim rose, unable to sit still any longer. It's more than that, Wiley. Something's going on, something big and bad, and Romaine's in on it. Did you send an outfit south this week? The abrupt shift surprised Landor. No. 20 wagons, traveling at night, heading past Tubac. Where'd you get that? Archuleta? That cutthroat? He knows what's going on, and they'd hang him if he set foot in town. How can you believe a man like that? The same way you believe Romaine. He made a deal with the Confederates, and he's still up to something. Landor went pale about the mouth. I've taken all I'm going to. You've moped around town ever since you got back, bitter because you couldn't do anything about the war. Carousing, raising hell, drinking, and you don't like a drunkard. Landor's lips drew up like the mouth of a purse. It gave his face a severely puritanical look. Somehow it symbolized for Rim the things that had shaped Sherry, made her the way she was. No, Landor said precisely. I do not. Landor's walk became mincing as he moved to the desk. I called you in to give you another chance, Rim. A train is moving out for the Pima agency tomorrow. We need a driver. You're asking me to work for the man who killed my father, Wiley? Landor's lips grew thin and pale. He walked stiffly around the desk. He folded his pale clerk's hands decisively on the desk, staring at them. Very well, Rim. That's all. Rim walked to the end of the block and then stopped, easing his weight off his left leg. It was beginning to ache again, and his face turned gaunt with the bitterness that always came with the pain. He'd got the wound in August of last year at the second Bull Run, and they'd invalided him home after 4 months in the hospital. But the bitterness was more than the wound, more than that of a man uprooted and hurt and disillusioned by war. The real disillusionment had not come till his return home. Seeing a town run by a man like Romaine, who had played both ends against the middle, dealing with Unionist and secessionist alike, and growing fat off the profits. Seeing old friends accept such a rule without question. Was that what a man fought for? Cautiously, he started walking again. He sensed the mouth of an alley just ahead, and he heard that tinkling again. This time he swung till his back was against the blank front of the building. He put his hand on the butt of the Navy .36 holstered on his hip. He had been expecting this for weeks now, from Romaine, and he thought it was about time. He heard the barbaric jangling again, closer on his right. It turned his head that way. From the mouth of the alley at his left, there was a sudden rush of boots. He turned back and pulled his gun and waited till he saw the figure. Then, deliberately, viciously, face high, he whipped the gun at the man. He felt its barrel bite into the solidity of flesh and bone. The man screamed in pain and came helplessly against Rim with all his weight.